All right, everyone, we are back, and we're going to go through Rule 5, which is breakaway, break-in points. So when we do have the scenario when two or more branches will come together or separate, they are going to do so at breakaway points or break-in points. So breakaway if they're diverging, break-in, converging. They're located on the real axis. They have to lie and basically satisfy Rule 2. To calculate those points, we're going to use basically the quotient rule. So if we have a function here, we're just going to basically compute it, take this derivative here. So the derivative of n, the numerator, times the denominator minus numerator of s with derivative of s, all of them with respect to s. So only real valued roots of the equation are valid, basically breakaway or break-in points. So they have to lie on that basically real axis. So let's go ahead and let's visualize this with an example. So again, we have m equals 1. And it's a good way to practice too. Let's practice let's verify almost everything. N equals 2. So we have n minus m equals basically 1 diverging to infinity or an asymptote point. And let's go ahead we'll verify essentially that value with the quotient rule. But let's take a peek at it first. So let's take a look at this system. We did that confirmation. Now let's look at this. Here we go. And actually, I want to do something very similar. So let's look at this plot first. So first off, rule 0. Are we symmetric? Indeed, we are. So let's. I want to verify each of those rules. Actually, I'm going to kind of take some inspiration from this. We can kind of go ahead and play around with it. So let's go ahead and look at this here. I want the angle of departures. I want everything here. I want to really analyze this system deeply. So let's go ahead. Let's look at our L of S. So transfer function poles of our L of S. Excellent. We can do our transfer function zeros. It's good practice. It's fun. So number of poles, 2. And then we have n equals 2. N equals 2. Number of zeros is 1 at minus 3. So that means we have 1 will approach infinity. Which one is that? So actually, let's see. Is that true? So we see here the blue goes here, wraps around, and then eventually as we increase it looks like it's going to terminate at that 0, whereas the yellow one will go around here, and then it goes, let's see if this continues on to negative infinity if we do to 100. Oh, yeah. So that one's going to negative infinity. It looks like kind of we're in here, so that's fantastic. Really cool. And we can kind of visualize that a little bit easier maybe for a smaller value. We can see where, like, maybe, yeah, see, the blue is we're not even touching it. That's cool. I like it. So, fantastic. So we verified basically that rule. Which rule is it? Let's go ahead and go back. So, rule 0, good. Rule 1, basically we're almost here. Yep, one branch valid is there. And then real axis segment. So let's go ahead and see, are we okay with the real axis segment? So if I look at this to the right, 0, so that's evened. Once I cross here, if I do the vertical line up and down, I only have 1 pole to the right. So that means that everything on this axis is valid until I hit here, because now I have 2 poles to the right, so nothing here. But once I cross here, what's the number of poles and zeros? 3, so everything from here to the left must lie on it, and that is indeed true. So we're good on rule 2. What about rule 3? Asymptotes of branches that go to infinity. Let's calculate that. So I want the sum of the poles, some of those things. So, and then it's going to be n minus m, so 2 minus 1. So this is saying basically the the asymptotes for the n minus n dash, the asymptotes will intersect the real axis there. So let's look at here. So we're saying this is 0. So for the one that goes to infinity, it's going to intersect the real axis at 0. That makes sense because we're lying on that real axis. So fantastic. What about the angles? There's only one, basically, or k branches. So there's only one of them. So it's just going to part at this 2 minus 1. Pi, fantastic, because it's just going there. Look at us. We're just moving along. We can look at the angle of departure. So let's look at the poles again. It's just minus 2, minus 3. But we have to kind of pull these in here. We have to pull these poles. It'd be nice if I actually had the... So we can just make our list. So this is our list of poles. So minus 2, minus 1. Here's minus 3. And so we can look at just these one at a time. 0, angle departure. And then the one at minus 1. We have that 180. And kind of makes sense. That's where essentially they're moving, out. Fantastic. Yeah, that's all there. Now, what about the break in, break out? So we have our numerator, we have our denominator, and now we can solve where they are going to break in or break out from one another. Let's go ahead and let's keep those numbers here and let's validate it. I'm going to put it a little bit closer. So the break in, break out points are going to occur. So either basically break out or break in. This is what, minus 1.59. So you can see here, this breaks out, and then the break-in points are going to be minus 4.414. We got it. So those are locations of the break-in or break-out points for basically those poles. Fantastic. Nailed it. Basically, all the rest, just exactly what we calculated. Yeah, pretty cool. And then now we can use this kind of framework to now work with our design objectives, right? Making sure we're stable, basically putting ourselves, figuring out what value of k will put us in a desired pole region. So next step, we are going to do that. So it's back to time, basically time domains specifications. So we'll see in the next video when we do, can we design a controller that will put us in a desired pole location using root locus? That's a mouthful. So we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.